I found myself thinking about memories on each song, what happened at a recording session, where was I at that point in my life, what was I going through. And it was suggested at that time by people close to me.
Diana Ross, the recognizable voice that contributes to some of the 81 years old, yet one of the greatest hits. She is not the brilliant fairy in her life today. Story that many people envision behind the celebrity and behind the dazzle is a silent melancholy that has left fans extremely worried about what happened to Motown's queen. Join us as we uncover the hidden reality of Diana's life. Today was born out of hardship. In Detroit, Michigan, Ross was born on March 26 in 1944. She was one of 6 kids. Ernestine was the name of her parents, along with Fred Ross Sr., and they brought up their children in a close-knit setting. Despite her mother's intention to name Diane was born with a birth error. Her certificate resulted in her being nicknamed Diana, but her family members still called her Diane for the remainder of the Ross family initially lived in her life. In Detroit's North End neighborhood, with particular reference to 635 Belmont Street, where numerous African-American households resided, in one of Smokey Robinson was one of their neighbors, who would later become a famous Motown-style musician. When Diana was 7 years old, when her mom received TB, is a dangerous disease that took a while to recover, Diana and her brothers and sisters left to remain with their Reverend and Mrs. William, grandparents living with Motown in Bessemer, Alabama. Her grandparents without them in a new location. Diana's parents were difficult, but it moreover demonstrated to her several lifestyles, and joining a community following her. The family returned once the mother recovered. Together on Diana's 14th birthday in 1958, they relocated to the Brewster for their birthday. St. Antoine's Douglas Housing Projects, Detroit Street. This area was renowned for having financial issues but also for its tight-knit neighborhood. Diana lived in these projects, discovered the challenging elements of the city life that helped her build a solid. Diana's resolve and willpower led her to the city's Cass Technical High School. Detroit Center is a reputable attraction. She concentrated on her studies at the school. Enthusiasm for fashion through the study of apparel, create millinery patterns, and on the weekends and in the nights, tailoring. She studied cosmetology and modeling lessons in order to finance her schooling. Diana worked at Hudson's as a busgirl store in downtown Detroit, making her she was the first African American in that role. Additionally, provided hair services to her neighbors. In order to increase her income, Diana finished her Diana's January 1962 studies at Castech. Went through a really distressing incident when she was young and lost some close buddies in a terrible mishap while playing. Kids get entangled in an outdated refrigerator that's making them suffocate. Ross recalled a depressing instance of a mother seated on the facade of their building, sobbing alone, and the mother had recently lost her kids who were Ross's buddies in an awful manner, in which the children were engaging in another neighborhood boy when they became trapped in the deserted refrigerator. When they were already dead. Found that Ross had written about lying and sleeping and hearing their mom's expression of sadness. She said for the first time, she encountered death of someone, and as a young girl, all she could consider how long it took. Expect them to perish if they let out a cry, and if she added that it hurt and that she continues not to consider it because she has memories of it from her early years. Persistent existence even following the building was destroyed, which led to Diana will be emotionally impacted. Demonstrating the dangers of her environment and the fragility of life in spite of overcoming obstacles. Diana's difficult early life made her resilient and strong. In spite of these initial difficulties, how was Diana's ascent to fame solely due to either her skill or something more? The legendary ascent of Diana Ross in 1959, Diana, a 15-year-old girl, joined a local group of girls known as the Promettes Group, was connected to a male vocalist. The Prime's Paul Williams Group was the first to notice. From the Primes he introduced Diana's unique voice. Milton Jenkins, her music manager Diana and Florence Ballard Mary together Wilson and Betty Mlan joined the group. The Promettes, soon became well-liked for their energetic performances and abilities. The Promettes took home a Windsor, Ontario, talent competition that Robert, a Motown executive, took note. Diana Bateman contacted her. Smokey Robinson, a childhood neighbor, to assist her in her Motown group audition. Smokey consented to assist in the circumstance that Marv, their guitarist, the Miracles could go on tour with Tarpan. Arrangement was advantageous to all parties. Soon later, the Promettes made an attempt at Diana's singing in Motown made a significant influence on Berry Gordy, the creator of the record company. Despite Gordy's he told them to concentrate on completing school before going into music career. Nevertheless, the group persisted and visit Motown's Hitsville, USA. Studios that support knowledge acquisition regarding the music business. In the band collaborated with Lupin on 2 songs this year. Diana's lead vocals were used on one of the and assisted with hairstyling as well. And design of costumes. In 1960 Barbara Betty Malone and the band were replaced by Martin. Continued to record songs in January 1961. The trio was signed to Motown by Berry Gordy. However, he requested that they use a different name. The name was created by Florence Ballard. Diana wasn't certain about the Supremes' name. Initially thought it sounded more like a gathering of men, yet they accepted it. In any case, on January 15, 1961, they formally adopted the name Supremes. In 1963, Barbara Martin departed the group, so Diana took over, and the 3 became a trio. As the lead vocalist, their breakthrough arrived in 1964 as a result of the hit Where Did Our Love Go?, a song that made it to the chart's highest ranking. This was just the beginning of an adventure that might have an influence that persisted in Diana's life. In 1970 Diana's musical career began with her debut record peaked at number 1 in 1971. One with the emotional appeal on the UK charts. I'm Still Waiting for the Music. The year, she additionally starred in the television program Diana and performed in 1972 with the Jackson 5. Diana's acting career began in Lady in Sings the Blues. She covered jazz. Billie Holiday, vocalist, in spite of doubt regarding her acting skills, she was taken aback. Everyone with her outstanding performance. Her performance as Billie Holiday won her Oscar and a Grammy nominations. Golden Globe. In addition to the soundtrack of the movie sold a lot of copies. More than 2 million copies in a single year. She performed on the children's record as well. Free to Be Me and You. Carrying out the in 1973, she released the song, When We Grow Up. Touch Me's second #1 single in the morning and worked beside Marvin Gaye on a duet album. Diana recorded That Year History by being the first Empress Nagako will meet the entertainer in a private gathering at the Imperial Palace of Japan Palace. She created history in 1974 by serving as the co-host of the Academy Awards, the first lady of African American descent to do so. After 2 years, she succeeded. Struck the disco with another #1 chart. The 1980s saw the release of the song, Love Hangover. Madonna with fresh challenges and triumphs. Her 1980 album featured songs such as I'm Coming Out and Gaining Upside Down. Her several new admirers. Her partnership with she was marked by Lionel Richie on Endless Love. Final #1 single. During this time she had a famous romance as well. Alongside Kiss In's Gene Simmons in 1986, Diana married Aaron Ness Jr., a rich Norwegian working in shipping. She became his 3 children's stepmother. Afterwards, he had 2 sons named Ross and Evan. Despite their divorce, Diana remained close to Era in 2000. And his family. Following his departure from in 1981, Diana Ross signed a $20 contract at Motown. $1 million deal with RCA in which she total control of her songs. She launched her with a number of successful albums. Production business and made a foray into. In the middle of the 1980s, she took part in the song, We Are, for charity. Michael Jackson and the world with other musicians and served as a co-host for The Americans. She was honored with a star on the Music Awards 1980. A Success Hollywood Walk of Fame. Her influence on music persisted. From the 1990s onwards, and the Diana was recognized in the 2000s for her Accomplishments with magazine articles, fruitful musical partnerships, and esteemed honors like the Kennedy, the BET Lifetime Award and Center Recognizes Achievement Award. In addition, she was given her first Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. She performed at well-known events throughout 2012, including the Nobel Peace Prize performance as well as the additionally. She released at the American Music Awards a fragrance and performed frequently in Los in 2022. She wowed fans in Vegas at the Festival of Glastonbury and Queen Elizabeth II Thank You Tour, Platinum Jubilee and the Music Legacy Tour in 2023 presented her iconic voice to younger audiences, making sure her legacy endures lively. In spite of Diana's success, she was not protected from the concealed battles behind the scenes. The behind-the-scenes, hidden struggles. Diana Ross is renowned around the world as despite her refined appearance, musical symbol. Ross's public persona and professional achievements confronted with personal struggles that affected both her physical and mental health. Well-being. Despite not always being well known, these difficulties had a major part in the course of her life. During when she was most famous with the Supremes, Diana Ross experienced the extreme strains of being the center of attention. She was anticipated to constantly act and look a specific way, flawlessly being among the most noticeable African-American female musicians throughout the 1960s and 1970s. She faced enormous demands and expectations. Eventually began to have an impact on her health. To keep the industry's small figure, Ross was at risk of developing anorexia nervosa, severe eating disorder that she began frequently handling food with extreme caution, eating extremely little or missing meals. There was little awareness of anorexia nervosa or recognized at the time, so Ross kept it to herself while continuing to perform and traveling. In addition to her challenges with Ross had to deal with performance issues as well. Nervousness. Despite appearing confident on stage, she often felt internally, "I'm nervous and agitated." Skin rashes started to appear as a result of anxiety. With a marked decline in appetite, the ongoing pressure to perform, traveling and interacting with the public, expectations left little time for eventual rest or recovery. The strain became unbearable, affecting her emotional condition as well as physical health. Several years after becoming well known and cherished by many, Ross endured years of severe stress, and she suffered through unresolved stress. In May 2002. Visit Malibu's Promises Rehabilitation Facility, California. Because of her reliance on pharmaceutical drugs and alcohol, her family and friends have observed a shift with her actions and were concerned with Ross's admission to treatment demonstrated that he was ready to address her issues and endeavor to improve her. The publicist stated that she decided to enter treatment in part to get ready for a forthcoming tour and enhance her general well-being. Regretfully, her difficulties. Drug abuse persisted on the Ross was in the evening of December 30, 2002. Detained in Tucson, Arizona, after police have received allegations of her irresponsible driving, pulled her aside and performed a breathalyzer test that reveals a blood alcohol content of 0.2% more, twice the permitted amount of 0.08. She faced 3 charges. Misdemeanors including drunk driving, operating a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol, severe DUI, and the legal limit for having more than 0.15% alcohol in their system. Although this incident was extensively reported, those who knew Ross well realized that it meant she was still having difficulties with herself. Even though I'm ashamed of, despite being arrested, she maintained her composure and useful when interacting with law enforcement. Was ultimately released into the custody of a pal. Ross at the start of 2004 filed a no contest plea to the charges and received a 2-day prison sentence. In addition, she had to finish 36 hours of drinking education courses and assigned to a year of unsupervised probation. The judge allowed her to serve her jail sentence. Time spent in her home state of Connecticut. At a challenging time in Ross' life, despite obstacles, she was able to view them as an opportunity to develop. Despite going through her treatment and sentence without making a public complaint, she went returning to her beloved performance. She advanced in her profession with more resolve and demonstrated that even celebrities can get through difficult times. and come out of Diana Ross's life stronger beyond simply being well known, and being strong is also essential for success. And courageous when facing challenging realities. Her struggles with eating disorders, addiction, anxiety, and the law problems show that she's not just a fantastic performer, but as someone who fought valiantly to regain control of her life rather than evading her issues. She faced them, confessed to them, and altered Diana Ross's opening in order to heal, talking about her difficulties, which was beneficial. Draw attention to issues like mental health and drug abuse. Her experience demonstrates that even individuals who seem to lead ideal lives can be. Diana is quietly struggling with controversy. Ross is well known for her powerful vocals and confident performances. Have been a few difficult moments that have demonstrated how she is capable of two significant events. The Heathrow Airport arrest in 1999 and the Supremes reunion tour in 2000 demonstrates the challenges of fame and the difficulties that may arise from a lengthy career at London's. In September 1999, Ross found herself at Heathrow Airport in a circumstance that received a lot of press coverage. A metal detector was activated by her and had to undergo a standard security check. She thought the search was excessively intrusive and made contact with the female security officer to express her feelings about this. Caused her to be detained for a few hours and receiving a warning from the police. Ross claimed that the encounter was distressing and the search made her feel violated. Ross began the return to next year. The purpose of the Love Tour is to bring the Supremes have reunited for performances. The excursion encountered issues right away. Beginning with Cindy and Mary Wilson. Burdong is refusing to participate since they felt that their compensation was unfair. Ross and Linda kept performing. Sherry Payne and Lawrence Payne are two women who joined the Supremes following her departure in 1969, but they encountered low attendance at certain locations, such as Tampa's Ice, more vacant seats than fans in the Palace, in addition to the high cost of tickets. This included some that were as high as $250, resulted in fewer people attending than expected. Even though there were a few, the tour's successful performances had to be cancelled early after just finishing 13 of the 29 planned dates. But how did Diana handle numerous losses and heartbreaks, as well as how did they affect Diana Ross's career? The losses that molded her. Grief. Diana Ross's life experiences substantial and devastating losses that have significantly influenced her life. Among these is her untimely death. Brother, the unexpected passing of her ex-husband, and the heartbreaking death of Diana, her father, has elegantly and carried the personal pain really well. From these incidents on her journey, she was in a lot of discomfort in 1996 when Arthur T. Boy Ross, her younger brother, and Patricia Ann Robinson, his spouse, were discovered deceased in a dilapidated home in Detroit. For days, they had been absent. Prior to their bodies being gagged and bound, and found to be suffocating. The neighbors in the basement saw a horrible odor emanating from the residence that leads to the officials discovered the decaying bodies. At the time of his death, Arthur was 47. Ross had a career in music, although not as well known as his sisters. He co-authored popular Motown songs like I Want, Leon Ware, which Marvin performed for you later in life. Arthur became gay, aloof and detached, perhaps as a result of personal hardships. His passing is still unresolved and without anyone being held responsible. The abrupt and aggressive character of his death and the absence of closure. Diana was devastated at the time. She was separated from her sibling. Concerned about his sister's accomplishments overshadowed his accomplishment, despite the fact that she presented him to her as a songwriter. Their connection with the record label was. Diana expressed that she was impacted by this feeling. Her grief following his death. She said that it was devastating and it was unexpected to learn about her family relatives of my brother dying on the same day her brother passed away. It was quite uncomfortable, and the well-known vocalist acknowledged how much she loved him. Regardless of their differences, while in Even Yet, Motown star Japan was able to write a letter with a heartfelt message. Tracy, her daughter, read it. Ellis Ross declaring her affection for her. She decided not to speak about her late brother. Openly regarding the terrible incident, however, according to people close to her, she was deeply distressed by the loss of a sibling in such a sad and enigmatic manner caused a deep emotional wound. Just 8 years after going through that loss, Diana had yet another catastrophe in January 2004, Era Nace, her ex-husband Junior died while climbing a mountain. Incident in South Africa. At the age of 66, Era was an accomplished climber and a successful Norwegian businessman while he stumbled when climbing close to Cape Town and fell more than 100 meters before dying. It was claimed that the catastrophe was caused by unstable rocks and unfavorable weather. Diana and Era and their spouse were wed from 1986 until 2000. Had Ross, Ari, and Evan as their 2 sons. Despite their divorce, Olaf and Diana constantly spoke well about Era. She once claimed that he was her true love and they remained cordial despite the divorce. At the time of his death, it was a significant. Diana was shocked by their children and their family. His passing came as a shock and Diana had to look after her children while coping with her grief. 3 years later in 2007, Diana experienced yet another personal sorrow. Her father, Fred Ross, at the age of 87, Sr. died away in Detroit. Fred significantly influenced Diana's life as a kind and encouraging father who supported his kids' ambitions. His passing was quiet, although it increased Diana's emotional strain. Having carried the child for over a decade. Despite her grief, she made the decision to complete her professional responsibilities and maintain singing. She dedicated her performances at the period in her father's recollections. All of Diana Ross's challenging moments demonstrated incredible strength. She has decided to keep her difficulties private, focusing on her family members and working life while acting as a motivation for a lot of people. Behind the polished public persona is a lady who has been profoundly depressed in her personal life, not just by means of these losses, but also as a result of intricate and complex personal relationships that are unstable. Diana Ross's life's partnerships renowned and praised for her music, yet her tale of family and love is equally influential. Her encounters with connections, including being a mother and creating individual choices, indicate that she was committed to her kids and dealt with life's raw. Struggled with resilience. He had a famous association with Barry.